Welcome to the Haunted Lounge, where shadows linger and the spirits flow. Join your host and a team of seasoned paranormal explorers as they sip whiskey, smoke fine cigars, and share chilling tales from the darkest corners of America. Ghosts, legends, and the pursuit of the truth behind them. Pull up a chair. The night is just getting started.
This evening, I'm joined with a couple of the investigators from Forgotten Souls Paranormal. These guys are going to be contributing members of the podcast throughout its duration, joined by Dale Whitener and Rob Roberts of Forgotten Souls Paranormal. How are you guys doing this evening? Dale?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Good deal. Tonight, we're going to be discussing one of the investigations that we did when I was with Forgotten Souls Paranormal, and that is the George C. Thelinius home. Who's George Thelinius, you might ask? Well, George was a colonel in the Union forces during the Civil War. The home was built shortly after in the town of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is local to us here. The home was built above the site of the Battle of Cape Girardeau, where unfortunately 12 Union soldiers and 325 Confederate soldiers lost their lives. We were asked to do an investigation at the home due to objects moving, people feeling like they were being followed, seeing black shadows, and numerous other what they thought of as paranormal activity. When we arrived, we did our standard protocol for investigations, and I will let Rob explain kind of what that is. What did we do, Rob, when we arrived at an investigation?
Well, what we like to start with is we go out and we like to take a lot of pictures. I mean, with pictures, you never know what you're going to get. So we like to go inside and outside. And that way we can go back to the pictures, see if anything's been moved, see if anything's in the windows or anywhere else. And like you were saying earlier, doors shut, you just never know what you're going to find. So I like to start with that, and see just what we can get at her.
A lot of times some of this activity is subtle, very subtle, but it can be as little as something moving a few feet across the table, and you wouldn't notice it if you didn't have previous pictures from before the investigation. So going back to the home of Colonel Thelinius, the home is a 3-story stucco brick structure. The home also used to have a winery on property. The winery was later taken down and the materials used for other items, but it did have a wine cellar on property as well. When we arrived, it was fall. Ambient air temperature was about 60 degrees outside, 70 degrees inside, and that'll come into play in some of our discussion later. When we were inside, the area that we started the investigation was a conservatory. Homes today, unfortunately, unless you're very wealthy, don't have conservatories. Dale, do you have a conservatory in your house? I mean, you're like, no. Rob, conservatory? Any?
No, I wish.
No. Okay. Well, I don't either. But George Thelinius did have one. It was lovely, actually. Very high ceilinged room. They had a piano there, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a cello there as well. But when we got in there, Rob began to complain of feeling hot, very hot. The ambient air temperature, and using digital thermometers, which is a tool that we use during investigations, just to kind of, it's one more piece of evidence. But the ambient air temperature was approximately 70 degrees throughout the house. But when we pointed the thermometer in the vicinity of Rob, it showed 99 to 100 degrees. And throughout that investigation, the 99 to 100 degree bubble followed Rob throughout the house. Wherever he would go, it would be 99 to 100 degrees. After he had left, the ambient air temperature would return to 70 degrees in the spot that he was just sitting. Rob didn't have a fever. His skin felt cool to the touch. It was just the air around him. When we went back to review evidence, we found this in the outside of the home, one of the pictures that we took prior to the investigation in the conservatory window. So what that is, I have no idea, but it has teeth. You can see in the picture if you zoom in. The color is very off. To me, it doesn't look human. Thoughts, fellas? Dale?
I'm going to say it's a paranormal phenomenon. We don't know what it is. We can't give a solid answer to it, of course. It's just something that kind of sticks up there. How do you put it as a unidentified object? Nobody can say what it is. That's basically where I would leave it at.
Rob, after being the one that was kind of assaulted temperature wise throughout the evening, do you have any thoughts about what it might have been or how you felt during the experience?
Well, I definitely think we weren't alone. There was something there with us, and it was showing itself. So I think did have something attached to me. I didn't feel bad. I didn't have any odd feelings or whatever. I was just hot. I mean, it felt like an oven in there. You had sweat pouring off me. It's just so hard to explain, but we weren't alone, I'd say.
In that vein, the discussion that I picked for this evening's episode is temperature fluctuations during paranormal investigations, or not even necessarily investigations, but paranormal incidences for people. I know that it almost is to the point of it being a trope now, but I know on some of the other most popular ghost investigation shows, you'll get the, oh my gosh, this room feels cold, or I've got cold spots. In the investigations that I participated in with your group, and we'll give you guys a chance to discuss here in just a second, but I know that I've encountered several times where there's been a rapid and very definite temperature difference. So what is it? What do we think that this is? I mean, I've heard theories from it's a dimensional shift. The entities are coming from a different dimension and the temperature difference is what is presenting itself. I've heard theories of the entities need energy to manifest or make themselves known and they pull that out of the air. I am not a well-versed scholar on the laws of thermodynamics, but I don't know if that's a possibility as well. Could it be that the entities being dead are bringing back the cold of the grave, for lack of a better? Dale, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, you get your temperature fluctuations, of course, of every place that we go to, and there's some that we don't get anything. To me, I don't get excited until it's into a certain spot. Like you walk into a room, the room feels normal, it's 60, 70 degrees, but there's one small cold spot that's sitting there. Does it stay? Does it follow us? Does it dissipate onto it? Does it kind of go around? That's where I get a little excited to it. And it could be not just a cold spot, it could be a hot spot because I've had that happen at Franklin County where I got real flushed and going into it, and it was a hot spot like that. It kind of followed around and went to it. I'm kind of with you on it, Dan. Is that the energy they're bringing back from the dead? That they know that they've passed on. It's cold where they are. It goes into it. You read into Greek mythology where they say, that the pathway to Hades was a cold, snowy, icy pathway that went into it, and that's how they got into the fiery hells. Is that it? I always, and I think Rob and I have talked about this multiple times, is that these people stuck here with these temperature fluctuations, is that purgatory? Is purgatory the ice cold domain that kind of what we're feeling? Is that where they're stuck? Is that what we're getting? That's what I want to find out.
Okay.
And like you
Go
said,
ahead.
we take the temperatures and we shoot. And we've had it multiple places where we take it and you're like, oh, it's 70, it's 70, it's 30. Well, how did it's that 30 right there? And then we start debunking. And that's the biggest thing we do is going into it. Is there an AC duct? Is there some kind of draft coming in? Is there something going into it? Until we can figure out that's something we can't answer, then we say, to me, that's paranormal. There's no explained answer to that. There's nothing that you can give to that. So,
Rob, I know the very first investigation I ever did with Forgotten Souls Paranormal was at a local bridal shop in Cape Girardeau. Right after I had met you, or not met you, but talked to you about the paranormal, and you said, "Hey, I've got a paranormal team, and we're doing an investigation this Friday. Would you like to go?" And I went, and we had one of those temperature fluctuations that, out of all the investigations I've done, is the most dramatic. And I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Well, when you go on temperature fluctuations, I've got a kind of a different thought on that myself. I mean, a lot of times I think it's a drainage of energy. I mean, we've seen our equipment, we're looking at your batteries that are drained for some reason in your cameras and your voice recorders. So how do you feel whenever you lose your energy? We all get cold. You're colder when you're tired. So a lot of times I think they're pulling that from us and using our energy to show themselves. Because in most of my instances, I'd say 90% of it has been cold, not hot. To me, a hot temperature change is strange. It's a different thing, but most of it's cold. So to me, I think it's just the drainage of energy from us, ourselves, and our equipment, helping them to move on and do something with us.
What do you think about that House of Brides incident in the basement where my breath was pluming?
Well, and that's amazing, Dan, because you say that was your first experience, And that was probably our best experience with weather change, with a temperature change. I haven't seen my breath before or after that. So it's just amazing what they can do. And, when you get that, you also get activity. We had all kinds of activity happening when the temperature changed. I mean, on that door right there, when we were in that little room, you were holding the door shut and you could feel somebody trying to open that door, push that door open. Watch that. I think that caused because they really drew all the temperature that we had in our bodies, like I said, and equipment, and used that to do what they can't manifest. We didn't see anything, but we sure felt it and heard it.
Good old Frank from the ghost box. What had happened, I felt like something had come down the stairway behind me, and I turned around and said that the room was ours and it couldn't enter. And Rob said, "Hey, man, it's 70 degrees in here, and I'm putting the thermometer out here, and it's around 30, and my breath was definitely visible outside." And that's what hooked me, that investigation. Besides the fact that, my previous one experience that made me interested, that is what set the hook on me with paranormal and doing investigations. So in that vein, we had talked about the Civil War forces in Cape Girardeau and the Battle of Cape Girardeau. Another interesting fact about Cape Girardeau is that Ulysses S. Grant, the commander for the Union forces, actually had his headquarters in our local town here in what is now a restaurant called Port Cape Girardeau, right on the river. Ulysses S. Grant was known as a great tactician, also known as a drinker, and enjoyed a fine cigar, even to the point of smoking cigar during battles at times. With the Haunted Lounge being a lounge atmosphere, one of the things that we do here is enjoy spirits and fine cigars. The pairing for tonight, I like to couple that with what we're talking about. And so this evening, in honor of Ulysses S. Grant, the drink of his choice was Old Crow whiskey. Old Crow was purchased by Jim Beam Distillery following the Civil War, and they are currently still making Old Crow. And for a fine cigar tonight, we have got the Drew Estate M81 Maduro, which is a collaboration between Drew Estate Cigars and James Hetfield and Metallica. It's the M81 Blackened cigar. So with our cigars, we'll be smoking those after the episode. But gentlemen, if you would get your drinks, we'll raise a glass of Old Crow to both the Union and Confederate forces of the Civil War, brothers all, and an unfortunate incident, but that shaped America. Salute.
To the old dirty bird.
You would have to be Civil War strong to enjoy that for sure. No wonder Ulysses S. Grant was a fighting bastard. Whew.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We wanted to say thank you for watching the episode tonight. This is our inaugural run of this. I'm sure there's going to be some technical glitches, and we're going to be getting better at this all the time. We'll be having guests. We're going to be doing more episodes, trying to get those released on a regular schedule so that you have something to watch and can connect with us. You can connect with us on several social media sites. We've got Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. On TikTok, our handle is THLP735. Everything else you can find us under the Haunted Lounge Podcast. Please subscribe. Please share this with your friends that are interested in the paranormal or fine cigars and whiskey. Any of those topics, share it, and we're hoping to grow this community. I did want to also leave this out for our listeners. We're going to be taking listener comments via email at the Haunted Lounge Podcast at gmail.com or on any of the social medias. Please leave a message or comment. And we'll be revisiting those during other episodes. And we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about a listener comment or question and try to answer that to the best of our ability. So please comment, subscribe, and listen. We want to thank you from the Haunted Lounge, our inaugural, man, the old crows hit me already, the inaugural episode. So thank you very much. And as always, keep your minds open and your drinks full. Good night.